Let's go. Have attention.
Okay.
Right. Right. Hello, I'm Jason. And I'm honoured to be one of the best men here today. I'd like to say it's a pleasure to be standing before you and about to gossip about my mate Glenn. I'd just like to start with a couple of rules. Firstly, if you have your mobile phone, please keep it switched on so you can keep yourself entertained. And during this speech, secondly, make sure all your glasses are full. Glenn, you're a lucky man to have Lorraine as your wife, and I hope you have a lifetime of happiness together. Lorraine, you look absolutely stunning. All the bridesmaids, where have you gone? You all look beautiful as well. I'm here to tell you about Glenn and how wonderful and handsome he is. Lies. But sorry, mate, I can't read your writing. Glenn and I grew up together. We lived opposite each other, but we never attended the same school. I remember coming round to his house frequently and getting up to all sorts of mischief, playing Playmobil. We had fun in the gardens and moving water from container to container. A real treat was playing 007 GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64. But best of all was his mum's yummy cakes. I had a treehouse in the garden, which was great fun. All the kids in our area come round and we had fun for hours. I had lots of sit-on rides, which we raced up and down the path between our houses, which could have led to Glenn starting karting at Phoenix. Phoenix karting is where our love for motorsport began. Through our race school there, we attended to become members of Top Gun. This was the highest level achievable, which led to outside karting and other forms of racing as we got older. We still haven't grown up, we'll race anything. My mum passed some clothes as I'd outgrown them to Glenn, who was smaller than me then, but now it's your turn, mate. You're bigger than me now, so designer labels only. I remember being with in your grandma's living room, and she asked me to always be there for you, which over the years, it's safe to say, we'll always be there for each other. Grandma and Grandad would be very proud of the man you have become. The bride and groom asked I don't talk about Glenn's mishaps, mistakes, embarrassing moments, so thanks for listening, everyone, and that's all from me. And it'll be over to Gary.
Apparently I need a microphone.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't believe them. It's not big enough.
Thank you, sir.
I don't think your dog's not big enough, Gary.
It's a very professional operation. Thank you very much, Jason. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Now, I know what you're all thinking. You're thinking, I didn't think Glenn was popular enough to cobble together one best man, let alone three, but here we are. You're not alone. I was as surprised as you are, but we'll make the best of it, I suppose. For those that don't know, I'm Gary, and I've been friends with Glenn for upwards of 20 years. So if you don't know me, I'm not entirely sure what you're doing here. You may be in the wrong place. I'm pretty important. You should know me by now. Yeah, lucky you. Now, everybody knows the drill with a best man speech, right? The format typically is take the piss out of the groom, tell the bride she looks beautiful, and the bridesmaids, of course, roast the groom some more, embarrassing story or two, quick toast, job done. It's a very tried and trusted format. But I didn't want to do that today. I wanted to try something a little bit different. I've been friends with Glenn for a long time for a reason, obviously. So I wanted to start by focusing more on his many qualities as a friend. Like, Christ, this is difficult, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, we'll come back to that. We'll try again later. As I mentioned, Glenn and I have been friends for more than 20 years, but I personally have actually led a pretty nomadic life. We, of course, met at the now thankfully destroyed Walton Comprehensive School. way back in the 90s, and yeah, you wouldn't think about it you wouldn't think of it to see him today, but at the time, Glenn had the most magnificent curtain hairstyle you have ever seen in your life. Yes, he did. Yeah, that's right. It has just got wider. Any boy band member at the time would have been incredibly proud of it. I think it was referred to as the Westlife for most of its popular years. However, before our final year, at the age of around 15, I actually left Peterborough for pastures new in Cornwall, and I was gone for about three years or so, but then the lure of Peterborough was just a little bit too strong, and so back I came. And Glenn and I were reunited once again, spending the majority of our weeknights and certainly all of our weekends at Toho, sipping cocktails which we were totally convinced at the time made us very cool indeed. Or frequenting the other like late night bar just around the corner, but we won't talk about that. We in fact spent so much time at Toho that Glenn bought the barman, Jeffrey, who lives long in our memories, he actually bought the barman a Christmas present. And what do you buy the man who makes you cocktails on a regular basis? You buy him a book of cocktails. Nothing says Merry Christmas like, here's a book on how to do your job better. Thanks very much. Anyway, I was back for a couple of years, but then I left once again, and to this day I actually still feel guilty for leaving, as I'm pretty sure Toho closed down literally days later from the reduced income from Glenn and I. But yeah, a couple of years, and I was gone once again, and this time, not to return. For me, it was a quick jaunt down to Cornwall for a few months, then London for a few years, then I went to the US, then to Norfolk for no reason, and then London again, then Cornwall, then London, and now I've settled back in lovely, sleepy Sussex with my beautiful wife. 20 years of friendship, and we've only ever actually been in the same place at the same time for roughly 4 or 5 years. And it's a sign of true friendship, knowing that no matter where we are in the world or what's going on in our lives, whenever we are lucky enough to be in the same place at the same time, we fall straight back into the old routines, the same chat, very, very comfortable around each other.
True friendship.
True friendship. However, I mainly tell you my life story as advice to Lorraine, because I have found through experience that if you're looking for a long-lasting relationship with Glenn, it is best to be a minimum of 300 miles away from him for at least 80% of the time. Speaking of Lorraine, I know it's part of the format, but you do look beautiful today, darling. And I know I said spending 80% of your time in a different time zone was a good idea, but I know that that's probably not an option. So I have a little bit more advice for yourself and Glenn, actually. I'm lucky enough to have been married to the girl of my dreams for the last 3 years, so I've learned a couple of things along the way, or more specifically, been forcibly taught a few things along the way. Exactly. So my secrets to a happy marriage, Glenn. Take time to compliment her, cuddle her, kiss and caress her. You should love her, stroke her, calm and comfort her, protect her, hug her and hold her, trust her, listen to her, and again, love her. And Lorraine, I've just written down turn up naked with food, and you'll be fine. Despite only being in the same place as Glenn for the advised limited time periods, I could still regale you with stories of days gone by, like the time Glenn sat beside me in geography and copied my work exactly word for word, only to be given 80% for his effort against my 90% for a literal carbon copy of the material. That is an absolutely true story. Or, probably more interestingly, I could tell you about the time I left him very literally asleep in a gutter outside a kebab shop after a night out. I would like to point out, if he paid more attention in geography, he probably could have found his way home that night. But sadly, we don't have time for too many of those stories here today. But if anybody is interested, I'll be at the bar later on. Anyway, back to those qualities that we attempted earlier on. Let's do it properly this time. So, Glenn is one of the most generous and selfless people I've ever met. He is incredibly good to all of those around him, and he keeps no record of favours done for other people. Very simply, if Glenn can help you in any way, no matter who you are, he will every single time. And in Lorraine, he's found someone who mirrors these qualities in him. Sadly, I don't get to spend as much time with him as I would like, but the overwhelming sense of caring and kindness that you get from Lorraine is obvious to anyone who meets her. And between them, they very quietly go about making the lives of those around them better, never asking for or expecting anything in return. They have both been incredibly good to me and my family for a long time, and I will forever be incredibly grateful to both of them. Thank you very much. Glenn, as I'm sure all of you know, is an incredibly driven and motivated individual, a drive that has only been increased by the arrival of their beautiful little girl, Ava. Jason has already mentioned that Grandma and Granddad would be very proud of you. I know your parents are very proud of you, and your family, and so am I. I'm very proud of you. I have a child on the way myself, and if I could be half the father that you are to my little boy, I'll be a happy man. And so, back to 20 years of friendship one more time. So what I said earlier on was true. It's a strong friendship that lasts that long and across that distance. And I think the most honest thing that I could say about Glenn and our friendship is that I know if I ever needed someone, if I actually really needed someone, he would be the person I would call every time. And I know that without any doubt at all, he would be there at the end of the phone, day or night, or knocking on the door as soon as he could. I'm grateful to him for that as well, and I hope he knows that I would do anything for him and his wonderful family. Or at least I used to think that, until he got married, of course. And now, Lorraine, he's very much your problem. I'm out. Ladies and gents, thank you for listening. Can I please ask you to raise a glass to a wonderful couple, to Lorraine and Glenn. And that's it from me. I'll hand you over to Glenn. I've managed to leave him in a good state because he's a miserable bastard when he's hungry.